is Raquel, and welcome to my YouTube channel, RoppongiKitsch. So today is going to be my first ever tutorial, and it's going to be an introduction to resin. I've been thinking a while about what I want my tutorials to be, what exactly I want to talk about, etc., etc., and I just kept thinking, what did I want to learn when I first started doing decoden? I mean, I'm the type of person I like to dive into things without much research because I do better hands-on and like making things. But thinking back, I was like, well, the first thing I learned or like looked up on YouTube or whatever was basically how to pipe, or like I was watching someone like making a decoden case and I thought, oh, it's so cool how they like do the whip part. And that's kind of what I got into first, but after thinking about it, I was like, I think it's better to learn about resin first, because although whip is just as important in decoden, so are the cabochon pieces that you use. What are cabochons, you may ask? Well, they're cute little plastic pieces. These are examples of ones that are already made. And what I mean by that, they're ones that I didn't make. They're just ones that I bought online. And they make great fillers, and they're also the star of the decoden case. Cabochons like this you can buy online, as you do most things, but sites you can buy it on are Etsy. You can buy it on eBay or Amazon. You can also buy it on AliExpress. It just depends on what you're looking for, what you're willing to wait for. The good thing about purchasing on Etsy is, of course, you get to support a small business, which is always wonderful, and I personally love doing that. The good thing about Etsy as well is that you can get your cabochon pieces faster in a more timely manner. They may be more expensive, but honestly, it's usually worth the wait. In the description below, I've actually added some great sellers that I purchased from, and I really recommend, so you should check them out if you're interested in learning decoden or getting cabochon pieces. Another cabochon are ones you make, and usually you make them out of resin. This is one that I made. It's just a cute bow, and I added some color, some paint, and some iridescent glitter for that beautiful sparkle. And this would be so cute on a case, or you can even make it into a hairbread. I mean, the possibilities are endless. You can do so many different things. With making your own resin pieces, of course, first you have to get into resin. What is resin? What is this about? How do I use it? What do I need in order to bring it to life? So this tutorial is basically an introduction for you. Like, hopefully watching this you will have a better understanding of what you're getting into if you decide you want to work with resin. So resin's basically a chemical. You have resin and hardener that you mix together, and when you do that in equal parts, it's going to cure and create a hard plastic piece like the one I just showed you. You see how it's very hard, it doesn't bend. Now if I had mixed the resin, so basically like with the resin, if I had added less than the hardener, if I didn't mix it in equal parts or vice versa, then my cabochon piece would have been bendy or sticky. It wouldn't have cured properly. So one of the most important things is that you do have to mix the resin in equal parts. So when I first started doing resin, my genius idea was, okay, I'm going to, for example, these are like the plastic cups I use. I usually cut them in half, that way I have like more control and I don't have all this room to like stir. I don't know, to me it just is easier, it makes sense. But anyway, so I would get 2 cups, and I would like measure, draw a line on each one, and then I would fill one up with hardener, one up with resin, and I would measure, I'd be like, okay, that's equal, right? Then I get another cup, and then I pour both of them in there, making sure I got like everything out, and then I mix it, and like, that is quite a thing I had going there. Let me tell you, like this, it was just a lot. And so I remember one of my decoden friends was basically showing on social media how she stored her resin, and I was like, oh, this is so interesting. So the way she stored it was that she got 2 plastic dispenser bottles, and I was like, that is genius. And she said it's not only a great way to store it, but it also makes it easier to measure it when you go to pour your resin. And I was just like, oh my god. And I just thought, like, her sharing that little tip was so helpful to me and like changed my world, and she was really, really great. But anyway, So one of the things she said about the bottle is that you want to make sure it's made out of this material. I am not going to try to pronounce this for you, but this is the word that you want to look for at the bottom of the bottle, because I am going to jack this word up today. But anyway, so I always like to get clear bottles. I know the sun, when you expose like the resin to the sun, it can turn color kind of like this. This resin is a little bit older, but it's still just as good. And usually when I have resin pieces like this, I make sure to make color pieces out of them instead of if I have something that is needing like a clear base for. I've never had an issue with it curing or anything like that, and I don't want to waste product, so I do use it. But anyway, so one of the important things about the bottles is, one, it's clear. You can see how much resin you're using, when you need to refill, and as you can see, I definitely need to refill. So today, I'll be showing you exactly how I do that. And one of the most important things with the bottles is please, 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 please make sure you label them. For instance, I have resin on this one and hardener on this one. The worst thing you can do is grab your bottle and be like, oh yeah, this is from a hardener. And you pour your hardener in there and then, oops, it's actually my resin. Well, you just wasted a bunch of product. I mean, that is always my biggest fear, and I'm like a stickler. I'm like, resin, okay, resin, before I even like try to like pour it in there, because I just want to make sure. But you don't even, like when you label them, you don't even need to have like a fancy label maker. I just got cute washi tape that I liked, wrote it on there and put some clear tape over it. That way I know it's secure. And sometimes I will say with the bottles, especially the hardener, it will drip, and sometimes it'll like drip on the bottle. So I always try to wipe it up immediately. Or if you don't notice it and you're like, ah, man, there's like all this stuff on my bottle, I just get a Clorox wipe and I just clean it really good. And you kind of want to after a little while, because you don't want it to get sticky or anything like that. So with the bottles, the way that I refill them is a certain way, and I will show you how I do that. But just to cover it real quick, when I take the pump dispenser out, the bottom can leak product, and I made the mistake of just being like, oh, like it's leaking, oh no. So I had the idea of turning it upside down to keep all the product up. But because I did that, when I refilled it and I was going to do another resin pour, it had air bubbles in it, and when I went to like pump it, it like there's no way I can measure it evenly. So then I had to pump it until all the air was out, and I'm like, oh, this wasted resin, because there's like wasn't a exact way I could properly measure it with the hardener. And I didn't want to risk like having my pieces be sticky or bendy or anything like that. So I discarded it, unfortunately, and then I just redid it to make sure I did it properly. But anyway, these are the bottles that I use. As far as where I got these, I actually ordered them from a seller from Japan, who basically like sells goods from Japan, and you can order it, and she ships it to you. And she was really great. She's really nice, and I'll share her Instagram, but you can also like go to Thasio, I think that's what it's called. I don't live near one. I'm not sure if you can order online, but if you live near one, I'm pretty sure they have bottles like this. You just want to make sure it has that name on the bottom. Don't forget that. And I say that just because I remember her being specific about it, saying that the resin's gonna hold well in that kind of plastic. So anyway, this is the kind of resin that I use. I get the gallon, get the big boys, sorry, I'm a little crazy, but this is Easy Cast. I have been using them honestly since I've started decoden. I always want to venture out and like try a different brand, because I know some brands can be more clear than this may be, but it's like, I'm not sure if it's just, I'm just comfortable using it, but I'm not at a place yet either to like try other brands to see which ones exactly that I like more. So I just stick with this until I'm able to do that. And when I do that, I will make a tutorial and we'll go through that journey together. And you know what? Actually, just thinking about this, I don't know if there is, but if there is a dispenser pump that I can actually put on here that's like long enough to like reach on the bottom, why haven't I thought about this before? That would like, I don't know, like if you want to try that, I might try that actually. I may already have the bottles, but oh my god, I just like, oh my god, mind blown. But yeah, maybe I could find one. The thing is, you would have to find one that would fit the particular bottle and all that kind of stuff, but that's an idea. But anyway, so I'm gonna just try to reposition the camera so you can see exactly what I'm doing. I want to make sure I like film it right so you guys can like get a good idea of how I refill my resin bottles. And then from there, I'll just do a small resin pour, and I'll just show you basically how I measure it, how I mix it. Depending if you do a small resin pour or like a large resin pour, there can be differences. Basically, the small one you're okay to mix, and you can actually like wait, because I just mix the resin, and so bubbles do occur, and usually I let it sit aside for like a couple minutes. And when I do that, usually the bubbles in the resin will, you know, vanish. But when you have a big resin pour, and say I'm mixing like a big like thing of resin, if I don't work quickly enough, it can cure faster. So you kind of just have to be like more on the ball with it. But I plan to do a more detailed like resin pour with me type of thing. So we're not going to get into that today. I just was like wanting to quickly cover that. But let's get into it. Let's go ahead and pour the resin bottles. Alright guys, so before we get really into this tutorial that I put together, I just want you guys to know how important it is that you wear gloves and you wear eye equipment when you're working with things like resin or silicone, any kind of chemical that has a strong smell that can seep into your skin. These things are toxic to you, and they can cause problems later on. You might not see it right away, or some of you will see it right away. I've had friends that have become allergic to these chemicals from being around it too much. So this is another thing to think about as you're getting into resin. And if you're someone who has sensitive skin and things like that, just make sure or be prepared in case you are allergic or have a reaction to it. So in this tutorial in particular, I'm not wearing gloves, and this is just a bad habit that I've created for myself. So please do not follow my example. You want to make sure that you always wear gloves. I always wear goggles, and that is also because a friend of mine that did decoden shared with us on the decoden community on her social media that she was having eyesight problems and was kind of like slowly going blind in one of her eyes because when she was doing her decoden, she wasn't wearing equipment and things like that, and it really messed with her health. So like, I just want to make sure you guys are smart and being safe with yourself when you're working with these chemicals, and you're being just take care of yourself. Like, make sure that you are being smart when working with these chemicals. This is probably an awful first example for my tutorial, but I just want to make sure I had said that and have a little disclaimer. If you are going to not wear gloves, just be prepared in case something does happen, in case you do have allergic reaction or things like that. Okay? All right, so let's really get into it now. Alright guys, so here is the plastic container I use. This is mainly for when I take the pump dispensers out of the bottle. I kind of flip them upside down, and that way none of the resin or the hardener drips from the bottom. Here you can see I laid a paper towel down, and that just helps to keep the container from getting contaminated with the resin or hardener. I do my best to not have a cleanup, but sometimes things happen. As I'm getting this ready, you see that I'm checking that I'm using the resin bottle, and this is just me unscrewing. And let's see how I kind of flip the pump upside down, because if not, the resin will literally just start dripping down from the bottom, and then you have a gap and a waste of product. Also, by gap, I just made a space in the straw, so next time you go to pump, your product won't fully come out smoothly. Alright, and here you can see that I'm making sure I have the right bottle, the resin bottle, and my resin bottle, and I'm making sure everything's good to go. We're good to go. And also, guys, with these containers, they do have a seals, and sometimes it take a bit of time to get off, but just so you know. And then here I just fill it up. There's no like specific thing I do. I'm just literally filling up the resin bottle. Any bubbles that are there are gonna go away once it sits for a bit. And as you see, like, I don't fill it all the way up to the top, of course, since I have to put that pump dispenser back in there. So I just kind of fill it up to the top of the label that I made, and that's kind of my guide for it. Alrighty, and then you just see here, that's really it. I just fill it up, put the pump back on. The main like special thing I need to do is when I take out the pump, make sure it's upside down, and then place it in this container with the paper towel. And as you see here, I'm flipping the container around so that way I can use the hardener on the other end. I don't want any cross contamination between the resin and hardener, because I want to make sure everything is separate. So guys, I just want you to know I don't always wait for my hardener to get this old. It just happened to be this batch. I hadn't crafted in a while, and I haven't been able to refill my hardener, so don't think this is a reoccurring thing, because you do want to be careful when you're mixing older resin. I have done this once before and I haven't had issues, but just be advised that, you know, this could change the way your pieces do come out. Also, another thing that I definitely should be doing, but sometimes I don't, is wear gloves. When working with chemicals, anything like that, you want to make sure you're using gloves. I myself have gotten out of the habit of doing that only because one day when I was crafting, I left a huge mess of resin everywhere because I didn't realize I had touched it, and because I had gloves on, and it got everywhere, and that kind of traumatized me. So I'm not gonna lie, I have not used gloves since then. But here again, you saw that I double checked that I'm using hardener and pouring hardener into the hardener container, and I just filled it up to right about where the top of that label is, and then I put the pump back in there. So that's really all there is to it. It's not too much, but you know, I just wanted to show you guys how I do it. You might come up with a better way. That's the great thing about crafting and doing different things, is figuring out what way works best for you. Alright, and then here I'm going to set up to show you exactly what I do when I pour resin. This is the paint I use. I just use acrylic paint that I buy at Walmart. You can get it at Michael's, Joann's, I think. Maybe not Joann's, I can't remember, but definitely Michael's, Hobby Lobby, any craft store, I would say. Joann's probably has it. I just haven't been there in a while. But here, this is what I meant earlier when I was saying I cut the cup. I do save that top for later. Here I show you that I cut like a piece of it off, and honestly for that I will use it, like I'll squirt paint in there, and that's kind of like where I dip my brush or tool in to paint things with. So it comes in handy, and I try not to be so wasteful because I know I'm using a lot of plastic, and I recycle everything once I'm done. But cutting the cup for me just gives me a better grasp on it. And I apologize because I thought I filmed the top of the pump dispensers, but I didn't. But basically I just did one pump and another pump, and when I went to the hardener, a small drop did drop in there after I did one pump. And when that happens, I just do a small drop of resin to that's like my way of making it even. Alright, and also as I stir, I watched one video where they say they do like a slow stir to create less bubbles, but I literally just stir as much as I can, because the bubbles, once you let it sit for a minute, will go away for the most part. You do what works best for you. Again, that's the best thing I can say. That is the great thing about crafting, is that you do different things and learn exactly what way works best for you. And also, as you see here, I have some molds out. Usually one pump of resin from these bottles will fill up 2 small molds, like the heart ones. I hadn't done a pour in a while, so I have this crescent moon mold out as well, just in case. But yeah, usually one pump of resin will fill up 2 small molds like this. Alright, and here I'm about to use the acrylic paint. With this, I just did 1 drop. With this particular paint, it is more opaque, so I just use the paint itself. Sometimes I will add a drop of white first, mix it, and then the color. But for this one, I was like, I liked how it looked with just like the drop of paint. And here you'll see that I'm getting my iridescent glitter. For me, I like to use iridescent glitter when it's up against colors like this teal color, even a green color, yellows. I think it looks the best when it's against colors like this. When you use it against red or black or like a dark blue color, any dark colors, it tends to turn green, and I personally don't love that look. For darker colors, I'll use holographic glitter. So that's just my take on that. You experiment and find what kind of things you like best. But as you see here, the 1 pump of resin fills up these 2 hearts perfectly. And this is a trick you can do. You can do the fire to pop all the bubbles. Another thing you can do is get alcohol, and I'll kind of list the 2 alcohols because I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But anyway, this is how the piece turns out afterwards. Alright everyone, so this is the end of my tutorial, Introduction to Resin. I hope it was a good introduction. I hope I did well to cover the basics. I mean, to me this is a good start of like what to expect when you're getting into resin. It is expensive and a big investment, so if you're like, I'm not sure if this is really what I want to do, a good way to get started without spending a lot of money is that you can go to your local craft store like Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and they actually sell like small boxes of resin, I believe like 8-ounce bottles, and you can just start that way. That's how I started. I got the little boxes, and I'm not sure if you can use, because I know like Michael's has their 40% off like 1 regular item coupon. I don't think Hobby Lobby like has that anymore. I'm not sure if it can apply to resin, but if anything, if you want to get molds, you could use that for a mold, because they also sell that at the craft store. And you can just kind of experiment with that and see exactly if you want to get into it, because you may want to do that before you invest in the bottles and all this other stuff, and if you decide you like it and you get obsessed with it like I did, you'll go all in, get the big gallon bottles, and go from there. But anyway, let me know if you have any questions, or let me know if there are more things like I didn't cover. I'm basically gonna have a series of resin, and it's gonna just go about how you work with resin. So for instance, my next tutorial is gonna be about how to color resin and what I use to color, whether it's paints, pigment powders, inks, glitter. I mean, you can really go crazy, and we're gonna go crazy in the next video. So I'm gonna go over and basically show you all the things I use and what we can do with it, which is gonna be so much fun. And I hope that you look forward to it, and I look forward to creating it. And we'll just start from there, and then we're gonna gradually go into the next step of what I think is smart to learn with resin. So if you're still not sure, you can wait till you watch all my tutorials and really get into it to see if it's still something for you. But anyway, please, 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 if you don't mind, please subscribe and like my video, leave a comment, share it. I mean, I do really sincerely appreciate that. And I also wanted to make sure I talk about on my YouTube channel, there's a discussion part of my channel. So if you guys ever have questions, or you're like, want to ask me something on there, please feel free to. I will do my best to respond, and hopefully I can help in any way I can. I just really want to help. If going into decoden is something you want to do, or you want to have your own shop, whatever it may be, I hope that can be some type of help for you, because I know it's hard to get started, and it's a lot of information to grasp, so just let me know. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and until next time. Hey everyone, my name is Raquel, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I have been thinking, what do I want to do first for my first YouTube tutorial? And here's my cat Tora. Yep, she's trying to get up here. You getting up here? Yep. Tora, I gotta I'm trying to film. And now you got cat hair all on my black shirt. You got it all on my black shirt, baby. I love you, but I gotta work, okay? I love you, okay? Yeah. Alright, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let's get the ball. Alright, everyone.